Do you ever want to dive deeper into the Bible, but you just don't know where to begin or struggle to feel like you even have the time? When you read the Bible, do you get frustrated because you know there's so much more in there, you just have no clue how to get it out? Or maybe you just want to know the Bible better and you are looking for any resource to help? Well, then this is the podcast for you. Welcome to the Context and Color of the Bible podcast. We are two sisters. I'm Erica.
I'm Veronica.
We love to study the Bible, and we also love to help others understand it better. We have found in our own study of Scripture that when we bring back the context, it actually adds to our understanding. It adds color to the black and white pages of the text.
Taking the microphone back. And I'm going to say happy birthday tomorrow, Bryan.
Oh, thanks.
Because, and in real life, not like podcast world. Because this is coming out on Monday, August 21st. And tomorrow is Bryan's 46.
47?
47? Dude, you're married to an old man, Air. I'm a baby. Yes. But it's my 25th wedding anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah, so,
Nice.
I know. I was 19, though, when I got married. So,
Baby.
yes. I have a daughter who's almost 19. It's a little scary.
Did you let her get married?
Not yet. No, I don't know. It would just depend. But, all right. So, last week we ended with a little homework.
Yep.
We told the listeners if they wanted to look at the last part of this chapter 2 and see if they can find the 3 woes, which would be the woe statement,
The woe statement,
the punishment, and the reason.
and the reason why.
I remembered that. I
have
did
your-
write it down.
They should have their homework ready, and you can just grade your own papers.
Really, you don't want to hand it to someone else in the room? I always liked grading my own papers. Yes. So that's where we're going to pick up then today. You're going to give us the 3 woes.
Yes.
They can correct themselves.
And we'll wrap up chapter 2.
Okay, perfect.
And reminder, this is the nations are giving their chorus response.
Oh, the Oompa Loompas.
The Oompa Loompas.
I forgot about
They're
them.
dancing and singing.
Oompa
And telling you the lesson that you're supposed to learn.
Can you make up a song?
Not on the spot.
I would like that for
But
next
that
week.
tune is definitely going through my mind. And I'm sure through our listeners' mind right now. So, so we had 2 woes, and God is referring or building off of that image, contrasting the wicked versus the righteous earlier in this chapter. And he's saying through the latter 5 woes of chapter 2, he's saying, this is what will happen ultimately to the wicked. The wicked path leads this way. So woe to the pillager, he's going to be taken as plunder. That was number 1. Woe to the nest builder. His security is going to turn into a liability. It's going to take him down. So then we move into verse 12, the 3rd woe. I call this the woe number 3 for the violent. Woe to him who builds a town with blood and founds a city on iniquity. This is kind of a rabbit trail, but you guys remember the trailers we saw in the movie recently?
Last week.
Do you remember the one about this movie about Oklahoma and the oil on the territory? I read just a little bit.
So real quick, Erica and Bryan and I went out and watched a movie last week, and the trailers were horrific.
Yeah.
Like scary, gruesome, dark. The movie we watched wasn't, just the trailers.
Yeah, and I'm sure some listeners are yelling the title of the movie. I can't remember it, but it's basically about oil being discovered in Native American territories in Oklahoma. I think it was early 1900s, late 1800s, and there was just massive amounts of murders going on as they're trying to claim this wealth. That's the kind of picture that I see here. They're trying to build towns on bloodshed, and that's not a good foundation. Behold, it's not from the Lord of hosts. People merely or labor merely for fire, and the nations weary themselves for nothing. because this is where the because statement in verse 14, because the earth will be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord as the waters cover the seas. So this woe is spoken to the violent, to those who are organizing a society through bloodshed. And the threat is that all their efforts are going to be fuel for the fire. They're just going to go up in smoke. They're like dry tinder. All because you build a society on bloodshed, it's like dry tinder.
Yeah, you gathered it all to start the inferno yourself.
Yeah. And the reason why is because God's intent is not so that it's dog eat dog and people backstabbing one another, even literally. God's intent is, or the reason why, is because it's about the world being full of the knowledge of God. Have you guys talked about the Hebrew word yada?
No.
And so that's knowledge, to know.
Spell that word.
Y-A-D-A.
Okay.
Yada. And, okay, I don't know I think first mention, is it Adam knew Eve?
Mm-hmm.
So you guys use a variety of pictures when you're talking about a Hebrew word. Well, the Hebrew word yada is when Eve is brought to Adam and he knew her.
And then she conceived a son.
Yeah. So obviously knowing is a very intimate thing in yada. And not that every time the word shows up, there's a sexual connotation.
Right.
It's about the intimacy. It's not just head knowledge. It's like a deep experiential relationship knowledge. And that's what's being hinted at here. The goal is that the world will know the Lord.
That New Living says an awareness of the glory of the Lord.
Yep.
Okay. So it's more than a head knowledge. I know God exists because James says even the demons believe.
Yep. It's
and shudder. It's I experience, I'm in a relationship. He's actively working. I'm seeing him work. That kind of.
It's
all of it.
The deep relationship, the way that a husband and wife know one another. That is the level, and probably even more so, that the world is to know or have a knowledge of the glory of the Lord. So it's not that the world is to be built on bloodshed, on people taking each other out. The goal is that the world is filled with the knowledge of the glory of God, not tinderbox. So the wicked are directly opposed to filling the world with the knowledge of God. They're about.
I just read in First Fruits Design, a wicked person is someone who has no fear of the Lord.
Yeah, that would fit exactly with this. So that's the woe to the violent. Woe number 4. I call this the denuder. I think I kind of made that word up, but denude is a word.
Can you spell that? Because it's sounding like
it's a real word.
de-neuter.
Not de-neuter.
Okay. Might be my dog got neutered today.
So it'll make more sense as we read it. Woe to him who makes his neighbor drink. You pour out your wrath and make them drunk in order to gaze on their nakedness. So woe to the type of person that does that. What's the punishment they're going to get? You will have your fill of shame instead of glory. Drink yourself and show your uncircumcision, because they were Gentiles. Okay. So that's another point of shame. The cup of the Lord's right hand will come around to you, and utter shame will come upon your glory. So the woe is given to the person, the wicked one who gives neighbor drink. And again, I don't think this is meant to speak necessarily in a literal, it's more of a picturesque way.
So you can share your wine?
Right. You can, yes. And it's not that the Babylonians are just ordering a round of drinks for,
all their friends.
All their friends. This is the typical picture, especially in the prophets, where the cup isn't full just of alcohol. The cup is full of wrath, violence, wickedness. All of this is filled to the brim. Now, God is using the picture of alcohol to explain or give the understanding. Like, and if you can understand it on an earthly sense, then that helps you grasp it more on the cosmic level. Because if someone's trying to take advantage, you're giving alcohol or other types of drugs or whatever substance to try and take advantage of someone. Well, even if you keep drinking and drinking, what sometimes describe people get hot, and so that's the earthly picture they're using here of, well, I'm gonna start taking off layers because I'm getting hot. But in the spiritual sense, in the more cosmic sense, the cup isn't full of alcohol, it's full of this wrath, and it's being poured on, and you can almost imagine this wrath, this hell kind of fire is now coming upon people. And that is causing, how do we say this? The wicked person is doing this not just for fun, but like to take advantage. It's
with evil intentions.
Yeah.
They're not just out having fun and, we got a little bit crazy.
No.
This was a premeditated, thought out, I'm going to make sure I can take full advantage of you, and you're not going to be able to resist.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
And it's about taking advantage. Again, not on a, like a date gone wrong. Like this is speaking more of a picturesque way in the behavior of nations and people groups. And it's using a human example for that picture. Well, because in a national scale, this is what you are doing. You are pouring out your wrath in order to shame people. It's as if they're naked and laying on the ground and you're laughing and pointing and jeering. Well, you know what? God's cup of wrath is coming in his hand, and he's going to force you to drink to the last drop, and he's going to wrench your head back and pour it down your throat until you can't stand, and you will become utterly shamed. That is what's about to come.
I don't think I'd want that.
Nope.
No thanks.
And then verse 17 describes the reason why. Well, because of the violence that has been done to Lebanon. We get the picture that beasts were terrified, that men were terrified, cities were terrified. So something that the Babylonians did or were about to do in Habakkuk's day, they did in Lebanon was an area of natural resources and beauty. And it appears that they stripped the land. Perhaps there was huge trees. The cedars of Lebanon would have been taken either for palace building material or war machines. But you strip those, and those trees don't grow back quickly.
Right.
You take this area of lush beauty and imagine the plant and the animal life and the cities.
You turn it into a wasteland.
You've turned it into a shameful place. Well, that's going to come back upon you. And that's why I said it's denuding the land. It's removing the covering of the land.
Oh, nude. Nude.
Correct.
Oh, gotcha.
So the picturesque of the person lying on the ground.
Okay. The nude person lying on the ground
is actually being played out more on a national scale. And then the Babylons.
Which, if you just go, simple picture of a person who gets drunk and
falls in the gutter
and lays there, and anything and anyone can do whatever they want because he's completely out of it.
Helpless.
That's what you have been doing, and now it's going to be turned and done.
And you'll be helpless.
And in a larger, worse, more embarrassing, shameful.
And everyone will be laughing at you.
Okay.
Your uncircumcision is displayed for all.
And this is why I go, it's so important that we do study these books, because there's so much more in this picture that I didn't when you read over it, I don't completely get it. And now as you explain it like that, I go, oh,
Mm-hmm.
now
They're
I
taking
get it.
advantage of people and
Okay.
through force and yeah.
Okay.
But that's the whole point, is this kind of gruesome picture sears itself in your mind, and it makes it more potent
Right?
and more memorable.
Yes.
And
Because I'm not planning on doing any
God's
of these.
intent. So, trying to take advantage of others, you'll end up being abused. And the last one is woe number 5. Woe, I call it woe to the idolater. And here's where our order inverts.
I was wondering.
I figured it was coming up.
I did.
It didn't come up in the verse, dude. It's got to come up in the last one.
Sorry.
Because I was reading ahead and I'm like, where does verse 18 fit in with the denuding of the land? Well, it doesn't.
Doesn't.
It doesn't.
Okay. So now hold that thought, because you'll have to answer.
You got to answer because I figured it out faster.
Why are these inverted? You think about it. Why is this one inverted? So what profit is an idol when its maker has shaped it? A metal image, a teacher of lies, for its maker trusts in his own creation when he makes speechless idols. So always watch the words. Ask yourself, why is that word there? Partway through verse 18, the word for is a key. It'll key you in. So which of the three is
Oh, that would be the reason.
the reason why? Okay, so we have the reason here. The reason for this last woe is about a man-made idols.
Okay.
Okay. Verse 19, woe to him who says to a wooden thing, awake, to a silent stone, arise. Okay, so now we have element 1, the woe statement. It's woe to idolaters, people bowing down to gold, silver, wood, whatever. There's no breath in any of them at all. And in verse 20, before I read that, so what of the 3 elements have we covered?
This woe statement, the reason, and now we need the punishment.
Yeah. Verse 20, but the Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth keep silent before him.
That's the punishment?
Yeah, I was.
I want that punishment. I think.
Maybe not.
At first glance, I go, I want that punishment, but I'm learning maybe I don't. Maybe I'm missing something.
Maybe.
Probably the earth being silent is not a good thing.
No.
Oh, good call. You're so smart.
Well, think about it. The stars sing. The whales sing. Everything cries out.
And what would cause all the earth to be silent?
It's been destroyed.
Yeah. Or God's removed himself from it.
Or he's about to do something
Oh, the calm before
terrible.
the storm.
Right.
Oh. I
Never
don't
mind.
want it.
Well, and I think this last one is saved for... it's hard
In a
to-
way,
the
idolatry
worst.
would seem to be the
The
worst.
worst. That's what I was hesitant to say, but yes, I think that's where I'm...
I think because God is God and I need to worship him and all creation will bow their knee one day.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do to man a whole lot of evil things and God will deal with that.
But if you do
But
something
to
to God...
worship someone else other than God,
Yeah.
I think it's a different degree of a punishment.
Yes. And
Okay.
that's what you get that looming threat here. So the woe is to this person who's crying out to wood and stone. And ultimately, the point we get is no amount of yelling or carrying on or hooting and hollering and dancing is going to get a response from unresponsive, inanimate material.
Elijah.
So,
Mount Carmel.
Elijah and the prophets of Baal. So the woe is to that type of person, those prophets of Baal, hooting and hollering and cutting themselves and dancing and exhausting themselves for hours. Woe to that type of person. And then the threat is, as we said, the Lord is in his holy temple. So the picture is Solomon's temple here in Jerusalem. And the temple, in the ancient view, the temple's like God's control room.
Okay.
He's in command central.
Mm-hmm.
He's not out in the fields. He's not taking a boat trip. He's not snoozing on the couch.
Mm-hmm.
Where is God here at the end of chapter 2? He's in his temple, in his control room, and he's on his throne, which means he's in
active.
total control.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because to me, that's an active, I'm doing something.
Yeah. He's right where he's supposed to be. And you think back to Habakkuk's chapter 1 questions. Well, where have you been? Why aren't you doing? Well,
Oh,
he's
yeah.
right where he's supposed to be. And
He
he's been
wasn't
there
distracted
all
in a
along.
way.
Yeah.
Closed, be back in 5 minutes type.
And what's the world's response to be in this situation?
Oh.
Let all the earth keep silent.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like shut your mouth and watch.
So, and all the earth happens to include who?
The good and the bad.
The Babylonians, the righteous.
Or
Yes,
Habakkuk.
yes, and yes. But Habakkuk is the one that,
Zip it,
Oh.
buddy, and watch.
uh-huh.
You know, which you do say that to your kids occasionally. Stop talking. I'm taking care of it.
Yeah.
At least I have said that to Chase.
Yeah.
Because Chase gets in the point, and we just dealt with this yesterday, if he gets so worked up,
Right.
his brain stops working and he stops listening.
Mm-hmm.
And I finally have to just, because you're not listening, you're not listening. It's like, no, you're not listening. Sit down, calm down, stop talking, and then let me deal with it.
Right.
So the nice way of sit down, shut up. Because I
Yep.
don't say that to my children.
And God's doing that for us.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe even at a higher level, he's doing that for all of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think is being communicated through here. This woe is, lifeless idols are approached with lots of noise, fanfare, and ultimately, what are they going to do? They're silent.
Mm-hmm.
But in contrast to the living God, we need to approach him in reverent silence.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. Because truthfully, as I look at all 5 of those woes, I'm not really doing those, the first 4. You know,
Getting people drunk.
I'm not. No, I'm not. And I'm not going in and causing, massive violence and building my life on other people. But I probably do have idols. I probably do have things that I turn to faster when I'm in trouble or when I'm in distress, rather than going to God. I have things that occupy my time and my thoughts more than God.
Yeah.
We've had a rough couple weeks, and I just was telling the Lord, like, I just need my daughter, Lord. I just need her to be okay. And the Lord was like, no, you need me. And I was,
She is okay.
and she is fine. Yeah, she is fine. But it just struck me how even my children are an idol at times in my life of,
Right.
I need them to be okay, Lord, and then I'm okay. And like, no, I need you, God.
Right.
You're in control and you have a plan, and I have to trust your plan even for my kids. But it just struck me today. I'm like, my kids are an idol. Lord, forgive me. So I hear you.
And their health.
And their health and
Yeah. Yeah, we're all quiet now. It's like, oh. We'll end that podcast with a mic drop.
I think there's another layer to the end of chapter 2. I think Habakkuk is silent. He doesn't come back in with a response in chapter 2.
Oh.
We see a response in chapter 3, and he's a changed person.
Okay, but I know people are going to go, but Bryan, the chapters weren't originally in there.
Where the break was chosen to be made.
Okay.
Okay. The fact that it turns to chapter 3 is irrelevant. what happens in the next set of verses
Okay.
is that there's a change
In
happening.
Habakkuk.
So most likely the author's intent is here at this. We've just ended Act 2.
Okay.
We've just hit that bottom point, and then he moves into Act 3 where there's the redemption, the arc back up.
Okay. And we're going to see then a difference in Habakkuk, because you started us
Yes.
back in chapter 1 saying, watch the change in Habakkuk
Yes.
as how he first approached God to how he ends with his approach to God.
Right.
So if we want to tell people to read ahead for next week when they come back, that's what we're looking for, is what's the change.
Yes. That's good
More
homework.
I'm good at homework.
Yeah, Habakkuk, he starts in chapter 1. He's angry at God's silence, but now at the end of chapter 2, he's silent.
He's silent. Okay.
Before God. And the other layer that I recognized here, I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into it, or maybe there's, I think, another layer here in that God is teaching Habakkuk, and Habakkuk relays this to us in his book, but the Chaldean, these 5 woes, for the Chaldean, it was an object lesson.
Mm-hmm.
And it was to help answer Habakkuk's question, are they going to just keep on going forever? No, they're going to end up self-destructing, because evil and wickedness always self-destructs. But all of a sudden, another reason why I think Habakkuk takes a step back, because I think all of a sudden he realizes, wait a minute, if this is the pattern of a wicked society, what am I in the middle of right now? Is that making sense?
Like I'm doing it.
I'm part of
Okay.
I'm part of a society that's already living like
Okay.
the Chaldeans. And he may not have been getting his neighbor drunk and killing his neighbor, but I think, again, these are physical pictures of spiritual reality.
Well, even just the idols alone. What was Israel's biggest issue?
It was,
idolatry. So even if they didn't get the first 4, they had issues with idolatry.
And think about Sermon on the Mount. Even if you're angry at your brother, it's as if you're committing murder.
Yeah.
But that idolatry one is a core one that all the other ones kind of spring out of. If you have a society that's willing to do that, then what's the value of a human life? Or what's to stop you from just seizing other people's stuff? So that root just grew out, and I think Habakkuk stops and he recognizes, yes, in chapter 1, I'm saying, God, why aren't you doing anything? And now he recognizes, oh, wait.
I don't want you to do anything.
Yeah,
I'm going to be right there with them.
We're about as bad as they are.
Which is a humbling, in a way. So Habakkuk could have had that pride of, we're better than them. God, you're letting the righteous be
swallowed up by the
wicked. But then all of a sudden you go, oh, wait. But we're wicked too.
Mm-hmm. And we're on that path of self-destruction.
Mm-hmm. Look at the log in your own eye before you look at the speck of in someone else's eye.
Now, there is the hope of what we've already talked about in verse 4.
Right.
And Habakkuk is going to be a changed man in chapter 3, how approaches things differently. But it's a sobering point, and it's also humbling. And now you can see why Habakkuk is silent before the Lord.
So maybe sometimes God needs my silence.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I need my silence to hear to hear better. Maybe I'm like Chase and I need to stop talking. Oh, okay. On that note, thanks for joining us. You know what? But this is where we would love it if you could go rate and review on whatever platform you listen to. And if you can't rate and review on the platform, go to iTunes then. Because what that does is every time we get a review, a rating, it helps, one, other people to read and find out what they can learn in this podcast. But it also pushes us up so that other people who are looking for Bible podcasts, biblical teaching podcasts, can find us so that we can get this word out. Because it's encouraging to go, okay, if we're all in this together, if I can find the righteous and we can do this together, we can bring the light and the good news that the kingdom is here and spreading.
Mm-hmm.
And it helps me go, I'm not alone. So, but we can't do that without people. We have to have people who want to rate and review and subscribe.
And share.
And share,
Don't
yes.
be silent about us.
Yes, there you go.
Don't
So Erica-
be silent.
yeah, Erica's saying don't be silent about us. So spread this podcast around. And hopefully you're enjoying it. Come back. Next week we've got, are you doing 3 podcasts on chapter 3? Or is that just 2?
I haven't divided it up
Okay.
yet. 2 or 3.
Okay. So we've got a few more weeks with Bryan here before after we finish Habakkuk, I'll just tell now, we're going to do Daniel. We're going to put that out for Daniel. Daniel 6. So keep listening. That will be an hour-long podcast. We have already recorded it. I think it was 55 minutes.
You didn't cut me off. soon
Nope.
enough
I
on
let
that
you
one.
go. So thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you next week.